What's good with it in the hood with it? Welcome back to the Collective Clips where you already know the gun's about to get it in. But before I get it in, let's hit that like and subscribe button. Ding. Put your notification bell on all so that way you're directed in the direction of the dope content that I am kicking. And I highly appreciate all the support, man. Thank you. I'm very humbled. I know I couldn't do it without you. Oof, oof, oof. Are you ready for another Super Uso? Do they even sound like that? I don't know, man, but on the islands, it's different, right? On the island, brada, right? They're just fucking, they're nuts, right? Well, I met the biggest Uso I ever met in my life. Okay, I've met some big Usos, and they don't get smaller, they get bigger. They don't do subtraction, they like addition, right? And I'm gonna tell you right now, one Uso plus one Uso equals a big fucking Uso, right? I had to get into a lightweight argument the other day. This guy was like, why are you talking about Usos being so big? They're not that big. I don't know what island he's referring to, but the Uso Island of Samoa, there's chicks bigger than the guy I was arguing with. I'll tell you that right off the top, right? So, trip out, I was out of state doing time, and there was a Chiruhu there, and he had different dynamics going on, right? And so this dude's name was Angel. True stories, right? And allegedly he was a Golden Glove boxer. He had put everyone that he ever came in contact with on their pockets. Like he was real. I seen him beat the hell out of a lot of people. A lot of people like to test his abilities, and that was a test they couldn't pass. D minus. We won't give him an F because the F came later when they found out he was a Chiruhu, right? So again, that's how that went. But this guy had a fetish, and he had a fetish for young white men, brother, right? And the Woods would feed him dudes that they didn't want, dudes that they were extorting, dudes that had weird cases. Now, in this particular state prison where I was at, everybody walked the yard. They had weirdos. It was kind of like you just stood away and stood in the corner and did your own thing, programmed with your gente, your people, and knew enough to stay away from the fucking weird people. And you could always spot the weirdos. You know what I mean? They would always be sitting in the middle of the fucking day room, cross-legged, playing Dungeons and Dragons or Connect Four or Yahtzee, right? But they were getting Yahtzeed all day long. You know, they were getting Uno'd on. I'll tell you that for sure, right? And this guy Angel was definitely a predator. It's what he did. That was his get down. Now, because he had hands and because he had done a lot of time, he was a lifer. He did eventually get out. I don't know how the fuck he got out. Laws changed, times changed, things changed. That guy got out. And I'll tell you a story about him getting out and me actually working with the dude. And he beat the hell out of the boss. Trip out on that, right? It's a small world. But so, anyways, this guy's in there doing what he does. And what he used to do was these young white guys that would come in, he would befriend them. He didn't care about their charges. He didn't care about none of that. He would befriend them because he really wanted to be their friend. But again, I said there was different dynamics to this dude. He was a reverse Chiruhu, right? He didn't want to take what they had. He wanted to give. It was a give and take situation. He wanted them to take him. Okay, he was on his Diddy shit in a reverse role, more like Jay-Z, right? He was just a trip. So what he used to do is he would befriend these young white guys, and it just happened. I've seen him get a couple Mexican, right, a couple brothers, but it was the white dudes that he was really attracted to. So, anyways, it's crazy saying that, but that's no Diddy. That's just the way that life works out. So, as long as he didn't do this shit aggressively in the middle of the day room or out there on the yard, he was going to be safe, right? Because if he was out there punking people and taking their shit, you know, in a public view, well, that ain't going to fly. That's considered an art charge. That's considered something bad, and gente are going to get on him with pieces, period. I don't care how much you got hands, how crazy, how big you are. You're not going to fight three hitters coming at you, right? Because they're going to grab you by the legs, take you down, and start hammer fisting fucking things inside your chest. Just how prison works, right? Doesn't matter what state, what yard, what prison. That's the get down. Oof, oof, oof. Along come the Usos, right? They don't play. They don't need knives. They don't need ropes to choke you out with. They got hammer fists built in. So, anyways, this guy, he had been doing this for years. Even prior to me getting to the building, he had been punking people, taking, not taking their stuff, but taking them into the cell and making them do violent things to him. Let's just say that. He was like Wes Watson. He liked hooping things. Hot pots, rice makers, VCR parts, cuff keys, whatever there was that was out there, he'd try it, right? Mikey eat it straight up. Angel eat it. So what he would do was these young guys would come, he'd befriend them, and then he'd hit them with the question. The question was, are you going to go in my cell and do some horrible things to me from the back, right? And most of them would be like shocked, like, because they didn't expect that. They expected, for him to take them, but he wanted it. So it was like reverse role. Anyways, he had been doing this for a while. And this big Uso, there was about 2 Usos on the yard in the building that I was at. The biggest one on the yard came in, right? And he was a lifer. He was an OG. He was not playing them games. He wasn't with the shenanigans or the bullshit. He didn't one thing was about Usos is they're very nice people. Very, very caring, man. Very good gente until you fucking get on their bad side. Then they're going to, right? They're going to, Sole, right? They're going to get on you. What's up, brother? Right? And you don't need that. Nobody wants that. Angel wasn't concerned. He wasn't concerned with what no man could do to him because, again, everyone he ran into, he fucked up. He beat the hell out of him. So in this particular situation, what happened was a younger Uso dude had come onto the building, and this guy, Angel, took a liking to him. Now, here's one thing about him was he had these old dusty brown the fingers were cut off. I remember weightlifting gloves, right? From way back when they had free weights. And this guy had been down for over 20 years. And what he would do was, he'd be Angel. You see him on the yard. He was chilling. He was a native dude, right? He would do his thing. The native people had ostracized him, so he was kind of like on his own. But in this particular state, you could do whatever the fuck you wanted. But when he came out of his cell with these brown gloves on and eyeliner on, his name changed to Michelle. That's what he was. That's who he was, right? He had like a whole different persona. He was just a different character. And everyone knew, oh, snap. Michelle's on the tira, right? Dispensa on la tira, con permiso. Make way. Michelle's walking through, and he's aggressive, right? And so that was what he was, right? And he changed to another person, and he was on the lurk. He was out there. He was lurking, right? He was hunting. And so when this young Uso came, this guy would bat his eyes and whatever and would try. I don't know what he thought. Usos don't play like that. Not any I've ever been around. So the big Uso approached him, was like, hey, bro, we need to have a talk. He was like, look, my people are off limits to you. We don't play like that. We don't get down with your shenanigans. You know what I mean? Do we look like the Sharmuta cartel? That it ain't happening, homie. You're not going to feel my muscle. Feel it. You're not going to do that, right? So he kind of leaned back, but he still was interested. And again, man, this is a dude who didn't give a fuck about how no one felt about him. He just beat the hell out of him. But this was a threat, right? Because this Uso was fucking gigantic. His arms were bigger than dude's calves, right? Literally. And the dude had some big old calves. I remember Wes Watson would have licked the sweat off his calves. Anyways, right? Mr. Pegged Watson. Let's get back to Angel. So he leaned off that dude and he found a young white dude, right? And this youngster, they became like bosom buddies, perfect strangers. Bauki Batacamus. They were walking around the yard, kicking it. And the Uso didn't like the dude because of the little nonchalant passes he had made at his homie. So he was like, man, I'm going to fuck that dude up. So he was telling people on the yard, like, I'm going to fuck that dude up. If he does anything or approaches that little white kid in any type of form or fashion, I'm going to handle business, right? So the Usos that were there, Norteños, we were cool with the Usos. We were telling them like, hey, bro, let that shit go. That about he's on his own trip. As long as he ain't doing nothing out here, it is what it is. Whatever he does in his own cell stays in his own cell. If we hear some screaming and some bad shit, then of course, you know what I mean, people are going to test his abilities. The Woods, they had already been like, brother, listen, brother. He gives us the extendo jars of coffee. He says, hey, I'll trade a jar of coffee for that young white kid you guys are extorting anyways. We already let him bleed him dry. Reverse roll, right? So whatever. No one cared, really. And honestly, that's the tragic parts of certain prisons. That was like an Alabama prison type shit, right? People didn't care. Like, you were on your own, homie. You know what I mean? You better get some good homeboys, some solid homeboys, do some burpees and prepare because it was guerra. It was war. And there was predators there. Like I said, they manipulated people. They just did what they did. So Angel was doing his thing. The Uso already took a dislike to him. It was going to be funk. Okay. Now, this Uso had came from another building. And the reason that he was transferred to our building was he had beat the shit out of a black dude very, 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 very bad. Now, the Uso was a sangre on the street. He was a blood, right? Oh, power! He was a blood. And he used to kick it with the Bloods, right? He was he was Uso first with his people, but he still had love for these Bloods. He had someone from his hood there. It was what it was, right? And another Crip had come into the building and wanted some of that smoke with his homeboy from his hood. And so the big Uso took him in the cell and dogged him out, right? Did some bad things to him. And, that black dude would end up going to the hole. They both went to the hole. They did 6 months in the hole. The black dude told the authorities, man, that dude was doing some bad things to him, which never was true. But that was his way to get out of the institution, to wiggle out, because he knew that every time he went, he was going to run into that Uso or any Usos. They were going to put hands and fingertips on him, right? It's just what it was. and he didn't like the choke game. The choke game didn't work for him. So, anyways, that was on that dude's jacket. But of course, everybody knew it was bullshit. So everywhere he went, he felt aggressive towards people because they'd question him on it, like, "Hey, bro, I heard you was over there fucking doing bad thing." He was like, "Nah, bro, brother, I'll kill you, brother." Right? That's it. And they didn't want that smoke. So, anyways, he felt aggressive towards any type of weirdo or any type of weird shenanigans just because people try to put him in that mix, and it wasn't going to happen. I never seen an Uso with no bad charges like that in my life. I'm sure there are, but I didn't witness that shit. So I knew he was a solid dude. I used to chop it up with him all the time. This fool, they didn't have weights big enough for him. They had these weights that were like on cables. They about to throw on one hand, having a conversation, drinking a Sprite. You know what I mean? You're like, so, oof, oof, oof. I'm like, damn, that's like 280. He's doing one hand. He was that big. Big old mitts, Captain Caveman mitts, right? Hey, you guys. He had the sloth look. He was just big everywhere. And so this dude, Angel, was doing his thing. And like I said, he was a reverse predator. So he would take these dudes into the cell and tell them, "Hey, look, this is what's going to happen." And he was smart, though. He was a manipulative motherfucker. He would take these little young white dudes under his wing and they'd be cool. And then he'd tell them, "Hey, sell out with me, bro." So they would, like dumbasses, right? And they'd be like, "Hey, brother, are we going to drink coffee?" He's like, "Yeah, you're going to drink a lot more than coffee, or I am," right? And that's just how that was. He'd get him in the cell, and allegedly, it was a myth, I guess, right? Unicorn shit. Allegedly, they'd get in the cell after a day or a couple hours. He'd tell them, "Look, this is what's going to happen. You're going to let me you're going to put something in me, or I'm going to put this in you," right? And usually the dudes would be like, "Shit, all right," right? And they'd settle out of court for a good mamon. But usually, more than likely, a lot of them would be fight the feeling. You know what I mean? Like, hell nah, like Too Short. I'm fighting the feeling, man. We don't have to kiss. We don't have to fuck. If I pull out my thing, homie, you don't suck, right? And so he'd knock him out and do it anyways. You know, and he was known for that, knocking fools out and waking them up, pleasuring them, whatever, right? So he's doing that. So the big Uso is like, man, the next, if he fucks with that youngster right there, it's on and cracking. What? So sure enough, man, hey, we see him at the podium at the cop station, right? Trying to do a move. Hey, this Volta had it was crazy too because the cops knew exactly what was going on. And they still gave him the moves. This Volta had people in and out of his cell all the time. He'd have like three young white dudes hanging out in the cell, like, "What's up, brother? What's up, brother?" Right? That's how it was. It was crazy. So they're at the podium. So the big Uso walks by and he's like, "Weirdo shit, weirdo activities." Angel turned around like, "What'd you say?" He said, "You heard me, weirdo activities." So it was like a standoff. Everyone's like, "Ooh, shit," because we had never seen really Angel like get punked. It just didn't happen. And Big Uso, the Usos don't get punked. They don't even know what punk means, right? And it's all over a punk. So trip out on this. So the Uso, his homeboys get at him, a gang of homies get at him like, "Hey, bro, why are you so mad? Do you want that young white dude? That way, brother, sole. Is that the you're trying to pound, going to pound town, right?" He's like, "No, Us. You know what I mean? I'm just tired of this motherfucker doing to people like this, doing them dirty. Well, just watch the next time he tries it." All right. So I remember it was chow time, and they would self-feed us. And so they had brought food to ourselves. We're eating and everything. And me and the homeboy, he was from Stockton, right? Bishop is my boy, right? Or not Bishop. Yeah, it was Bishop from Stockton. And we're chopping it up. He's a white dude. And he's like, "Damn, bro, fucking, what do you think the Uso's going to do?" I said, "Oh, he's going to go in there, fuck Angel up." Like, we're betting and shit. Hey, in prison, you bet on everything. Everything. Like, you bet on the football games. You bet on who's going to trip first. You bet on, what cop's going to work that night shift. You just everything because you're bored. And so I'm like, "Man, I got Uso." He was like, "Shh, bro, I'll take Angel. Fuck, I'll take Angel for 10. You know what I mean? Hey, give me yes, opa. Right? We'll do that. So it's all on a cracking. You know what I mean? I got to take the oof, oof, oof. I've seen Samoans choke people out with one hand while licking on an ice cream cone. I've seen it, right? So I'm like, nah, I'm rolling with Big Ooze. Fuck that. I lost, right? I lost tragically. So what happened was they get their cell move. So when they're walking into the cell, Uso tells the young dude, "Hey, get over here," right? As he's moving the shit into the cell. And Angel got the gloves on and the eyeliner. He's ready, right? He's going to get aggressive, right? He's going to get rather Diddy-ish. And so Uso calls the young white dude. He's like, "Hey, Us." He's like, "Hey, you don't have to go in there. You know what that dude's all about." He's like, "Nah, it's cool. That's my friend, man. We're different. We're like friends. He's not going to do me like that." He said, "Oh, he going to do you like that, Us," right? He's like, "I'm going to go up in there, man. I'm going to handle business," right? And so the white dude's like, "No, no." So he's getting crazy. So Angel comes down the stairs. He's on the top tier. He's like, "Hey, why are you talking? Why are you getting crazy with my friend?" He was fucking brave, bro. This big Uso said, "Man, I'll fucking snap your neck, you weirdo," right? And so Angel was like, look, man, air opportunity, a cell. You see, I got my gloves on. Stop calling me Angel. My name's Michelle, right? He's like, I ain't going to call you what you're not, homie. And he's like, okay, well, I'm going to call this a knockout. I can tell you right now. Everyone's like, ooh, shit. Uso jumps up like, what's up? He says, nah, I don't do nothing out here. I don't do nothing out here, man. I ain't a dry snitch. I ain't telling on myself. Let's do it in there. So Uso's like, oh, this motherfucker called me a snitch, son? Ooh, ooh, ooh. Right. He was all aggressive, right? So this fool Angel goes up the stairs. Uso right behind him. Everybody's looking up. I ain't gonna lie, right? We're trying to tell people like, hey, mind your own business. But I'm looking up like this and mind your own business. Like, I want to see it too. We all do. Are you kidding me? This motherfucker Angel walks up into the cell. He's backs up to the cell. You can see him. I'm sitting right in the day room, like right there. I can see the cell door open. Even the cops are like, fucking, let's get it on, right? Like, whatever. This big Uso could barely squeeze through the door. And when he squeezed through the door, he got hit so fucking hard, he squeezed right back out that motherfucker, right? Angel came through, was on the tier, just smacking him. Boom, 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 boom. I was like, he's getting beat up by Cheeto. Right? It was slow motion. The other Usos were like, what's up, boys? Right? They went into native mode, right? Hey, the Usos tried to run up the stairs to go get into it, and a whole bunch of natives stood up. There was a gang of natives on that fucking tier. They were coming out of cells and shit. They were like, it was crazy, right? Everyone's like, nah, let them be men. And the Usos were like, but one ain't a man, though. Well, he is in theory, right? Man, this dude was literally choking this Uso, just pounding his fucking face, blood everywhere. I was like, what? My homeboy was like, I'm gonna go ahead and eat those sopas when we get back in the cell. I was like, God damn, what's going on? Oh, right. I'm like, no, right? The Uso grabs his legs and starts crushing him. And I could hear Angel screaming, like, oh, right. But I ain't gonna lie, man. He gets Angel down, right? And he starts pounding his fucking head into the concrete. So the first half, I was like, I need my sopas back. I'm gonna go ahead and need those back, right? It's knockout time coming, right? This dude, Angel's getting his legs crushed and his head pounded, and he threw an overhand right from the ground. Boom! Split Uso's whole shit. Have you ever seen someone get split all the way down to the nose tip? His whole nose went. I said, oh, hell no, right? It was crazy. Helicopters came running in by this time. And this is like within less than a minute, like 45 seconds. This shit went bloodbath everywhere. Hey, they end up taking them both to the hole, right? The other Usos got mad, so they beat the hell out of the young white kid because he was fucking friends with Angel, right? So they smacked him. So it was just chaos everywhere. We ended up going in a lockdown situation, right? About 2 months later. So they ended up doing, over there you do like 6 months in the hole, right? 180 days. So I ended up going to the oil, and I run into Big Uso. He's back there. And I'm like, damn, bro. He was like, Us, that motherfucker hit hard, Us. I was like, damn. He's like, I ain't never in my life felt anything like that. I said, man, that's Angel's legendary around here. He said, ooh, I don't care whose dick he sucked. That's on him from now on. He said, ooh, ooh, ooh. I don't want ooh, ooh. He didn't want no smoke with that dude. So anyway, trip out. Years later, I get out and I parole, right? And I don't have a job. I'm struggling. You know what I mean? I'm an ex-convict. It's hard to find a job. And so I go to this temp agency and I fill out the little paperwork. And there they'll put you to work. They'll send you wherever. I didn't have a car, nothing. So I rode in like a car with a whole bunch of different dudes. And they made us thumpers. I don't know if you know what a thumper is. I think it's called thumpers. It's where you fucking load boxes and load up diesels. You have to go fast and shit. That shit's a lot of work, right? So I see Angel. He's there. I'm like, what the fuck, fool? How'd you get out, right? He was like, oh, with the court, I got a lawyer, this, that. I got an appeal, whatever, right? He doesn't have eyeliner on or gloves, so I'm thinking everything's cool, right? And so we're working. He's working his ass off. I'm like, damn, bro, we never thought it'd end up like this, right? And I'm like, don't touch me because I don't know what type of dicked up hands you got, right? And so as we're working and shit, we're chopping it up. They give us like a 3-minute break. Crazy, right? And he starts arguing with the boss, like, hey, man, our rights, man, we should be getting a 10-minute break, 2 10-minute breaks, and a 30-minute lunch and all that. And they're like, hey, that ain't the way it works here, man. That's whatever you got going on with the fucking temp agencies, that you guys don't stop until this fucking diesel is filled. Then you can get a little break and then start on the next one. He's like, man, what the fuck you think we are, man? I knock fools like, hey, I used to make dudes like you fucking let me suck their shit. They were like, the boss is like, what? I'm like, oh, hell no. They're about to went political on him, right? The boss was like, you get the fuck out of here, right? Mistake. Okay, and hey, that Vato knocked that fool out. Angel just put him on his pockets, like, boom, done, right? Cops came, arrested him. He was like, I'll be out soon. I was like, damn, that fool don't even play. So, you know, that was the a story of one of the biggest Usos I ever seen on the yard get manhandled. Never seen that before in my life. But hey, he was real. He admitted, he was like, man, that motherfucker dome, you homie. I was like, don't, yeah, you don't want to say dome, like no Diddy when you're talking about that guy, but damn, that's crazy, you know. And that's just what that was. So if you enjoyed the story, Super Uso, I got plenty more for you. You already know what it is, man. Shout out to the Usos, man. Hey, you guys take an elbow on that one, but it's all right, bro. As many W's as I done seen performed, it's only a matter of time before you take an L, right? Thumbs up or thumbs down. Heavy's going to be the head that wears the crown. I'm going to continue to struggle and strive for what I truly believe in. That's entertaining you and the betterment of all people. I appreciate all the support, man. Thank you guys, man. Tremendously. The Gun.